Hi, everyone. I see some familiar faces again. It's nice to see everyone. How are you all doing today? So we have a really interesting topic to talk about today, and I think there's a lot of you guys that are really excited about today's topic because it is metallic thread. And what better time to talk about metallic than right before the holiday season? Because as I'm sure you guys are doing, you're thinking about putting a little bit of sparkle or dazzle or glamour into your holiday projects to like give it that something something. And I know a lot of people are intimidated about metallic threads, and also maybe you guys have had bad experiences with metallic threads as well. And maybe there's some of you guys that have never used metallics but have heard all the horror stories and are a little bit afraid to use metallics. So hopefully after today's session, we can tackle all those problems, all those questions that you guys have, and kind of like the myths behind like how to use metallic threads properly and what to do and what not to do. And I just really want to thank everyone, first of all, for submitting so many questions. I don't think I've ever had so many questions before on a single topic. So I know that there must be a lot of you guys struggling to use metallic threads or like a little nervous to use metallic threads out there. So I hope I can get through all of your questions today. There were a lot submitted. So a lot of the ones that were submitted beforehand, I kind of like ingrained them into my session today. So I'll be answering them as I speak. There are some that are very specific that I might answer at the end. And of course, if you guys have more questions as we're talking today, you guys can for sure write all your questions in the comments. We're going to try to get to as many as we can. Either I will answer them on camera or Maura will answer them directly in the chat as well if it's something that she can handle. And so like always, how we do our session is I'm going to go through kind of like everything about metallics, show a bunch of samples, give our hints and tips, and of course we have a giveaway at the end. So make sure you stay tuned from to the end because we're going to choose someone from the Zoom meeting. And we have a lot of like really exciting Christmas things to talk about as well right at the end. So I'll get to those afterwards. But of course I have Maura, the lovely Maura here helping me again. And so she's off camera, but she's super helpful and she's going to be helping me show samples on the screen. So if you ever hear me go, Maura, can you go back to that picture a little slower or faster? That's who I'm referring to. Okay, so we're going to get started. And if you guys are first timers here, I just want to say hi and welcome to our WonderFil thread talk. My name is Callista, and every time we do a thread talk, I try to cover a topic or a specific thread line to help you guys know a little bit more about threads, so you guys know exactly what threads to choose for your project. So you don't always have to stay with just like a 50 weight cotton thread, and you can explore outside the realm of that and feel empowered and feel confident enough to try those new things. And when you see something that you really like, you won't be afraid to like try it out on your own. So WonderFil is a thread company and we specialize in threads. We have 36 kinds of threads. And of those 36, we actually have a bunch of different metallics. So not just the regular metallic that you would think of, your traditional one, around like the 40 weight, but we also have a thread called hologram and glamour and dazzle. And I'm going to be showing you guys a few of those ones today as well. All right, so let's get into it. Metallic thread. We have, I'm going to first off start with the type of metallic thread that most of you guys would think of when you're thinking about metallic. This is commonly used for like embroidery. It's about a 40 weight, and all metallic threads have a core in them. So our metallic thread is a rayon core metallic. Now, I know some of you guys might not know what that means. So I'm actually going to talk a little bit about rayon core a little bit further down in my talk, but I just kind of want to introduce the different types of metallic threads that you might come across first. So the first one, like I said, is this one, what you probably think of first when you're thinking about a metallic thread. And then the next one I want to talk about is actually this one here. It's called hologram, and you may have seen this as well. It's kind of like a holographic thread, but it's not round like other threads are. It's actually flat. So it almost looks like just a piece of film. And so what this is a slitted polyester. So it's actually flat, but it looks very, because of the way it is, it's very iridescent. And so it can look really, really sparkly as well. And then the next type of threads that we have are kind of more of the ones that you can, where it's a rayon metallic, where we twisted some rayon and some metallic together. So it's not a fully metallic thread. And so how that looks like is like this. This is like one of our GlaMore colors. And you can see the thread is not fully metallic, but you can see that gold in here that's twisted into the thread, and that gives the metallic look. So it's a little bit more subtle because it's not fully metallic. And GlaMore actually has an older sibling called Dazzle. So GlaMore is a 12 weight rayon metallic, and Dazzle is an 8 weight rayon metallic. So your sewing machine, your regular sewing machine or your long arm machine can only ever take up to a 12 weight in the needle. So you don't want to use anything heavier than this. So if you're thinking about using Dazzle, which is an 8 weight, you would be either using that in your bobbin for couch, or in your bobbin for bobbin work, or for couching, or you can use it in your serger as well. This will have no problem in the serger. And in fact, it's actually really great for that. So I'm going to talk about metallics in the serger a little bit later as well, but I just kind of wanted to show you the different types of metallic that are available. So you can see there are a lot of different types of metallic thread out there. So what do we usually use metallic threads for? Metallic thread, of course, is very glamorous, very shiny and sparkly. And so it wants to be seen. So pretty much when you're using it for it to be seen. You're using it in a decorative purpose. You're not going to use metallic thread to construct a project. So I really wouldn't recommend, if you're doing a project and you're relying on metallic to be like the thing that's holding your project together. It's really used more in a decorative capacity. So you can think about it in that way and use it for embellishments and things like that. And I know one of the biggest questions that I got from your questions that you guys submitted were, how strong is your metallic thread, or does it matter how strong your metallic thread is? Does a stronger thread mean that it will break less or it will shred less? And I want you guys to really know that a stronger thread does not always equal a better thread. Okay, a stronger thread it's great because you don't want your thread to be breaking all the time, but what you're actually looking for is sewability. So what do I mean when I'm talking about sewability is actually how well the thread is going to perform and do what it's supposed to do and give you the results that you want it to have. Because if you have a thread that will never break, in your mind, that's kind of great, but in practice, that will probably be quite problematic as well, because you wouldn't want a thread either breaking your needle or making holes in your fabric or breaking your machine before the thread itself breaks, right? So you want a thread that is going to do the exact job that you want it to do, and that's kind of the sewability aspect that I'm talking about. So finding the strongest metallic thread is not going to mean you're going to have a better metallic thread. So now I'm going to talk about the core of the thread. So that kind of relates a lot to the strength of the thread and the sewability. So most metallic thread is actually made, if I blow up an image of it, it would be kind of like a rope in the center, and then you have your foil or your metallic film that wraps around the outside that kind of looks like a ribbon and is wrapped around that core. And that's how the metallic thread is made. And that's why it's shiny all the way through. So most metallic thread that's on the market actually uses a polyester core, because if you compare rayon and polyester, yes, rayon is a bit stronger, or sorry, polyester is a bit stronger than rayon. So why would we choose rayon instead of polyester? So polyester, one of the characteristics is it's usually stretchy. And so that is actually a really bad thing when you pair it with a metallic thread, because if you have a core, if your metallic thread in the middle is stretchy and you have all that ribbon or film along the outside that creates the metallic thread, when it stretches apart, you actually get gaps between that film. And that's a lot of the times what causes problems when you're sewing with your metallic thread, because you're going to have places where the thread is going to become a lot catchier because you have edges. You have a lot of edges and you have like the openings between that film. So especially when the thread is going through your machine's path, anywhere where there's going to be like a sharp turn, it's going to catch a lot easier where the thread moves through. And the number one place that happens, I think you guys might know or might have experience, is in your needle eye, because that's a really sharp turn where your thread's coming down and then going right through your needle. So I actually have a very large needle here to show you, but when your thread is coming down through your machine and it passes through here, look at that, like that angle is going to be a lot sharper. And so it's going to catch a lot easier right there, especially if there's a little bit of like openings or gaps. And that's why it always shreds at the needle eye, and you end up with that little bit of like white tip of the thread, and all that metallic stuff is like all behind it and scrunched up behind it. So the reason why we use rayon is because rayon is not a stretchy thread. It won't stretch it at all. And the other thing is that you also want to have a thread that's really soft, because like I mentioned before, metallic a lot of the times is being used for decorative purposes like embroidery or embellishments. And whenever you're doing any kind of embroidery, you always want it to be soft and supple, right? And so rayon is going to give you that like softer feel, and you don't like metallic that's like all scratchy and stuff like that. So we do use a very high quality metallic as well for that. Okay. So getting into the next thing is the memory of the thread. So I did get some questions about like, how do you get metallic to not curl and things like that. So one thing to know is that metallic actually has the best memory of any thread. And what do I mean by memory? Because it might sound confusing at first, but memory refers to how well that thread is going to retain its shape or curl when it comes off the spool. So the thread actually with the worst memory, I wonder if you guys can guess, is actually cotton. And because it has the worst memory, it actually ends up being one of the easiest threads to use, because once it comes off the spool, the cotton thread just kind of like straightens itself out right away. It doesn't remember like the circular shape of being on the spool. So the thread kind of just straightens out really easily on its own. Whereas metallic, when you take it off the spool, like you can see here, it's already twisting on itself, and you see how it's like a little wavy and curly. So this is what happens because metallic has a really good memory. It retains its curls, it holds its shape from coming off the spool. So you get issues like this happening, and you definitely don't want that when it's about to go into your machine, because it's definitely going to cause problems. And look, I'm not even really playing with it that much. I'm just having it come off the spool and move a little. It's doing that on its own. So that's another reason why metallic threads are usually trickier to sew with, is because it has such a great memory. So how do we kind of like eliminate those problems? Is one, I always recommend not putting your metallic thread on the horizontal spool pin. There's just not enough time for it to really like straighten out before it goes into your thread path, because it's so close to it. So what I would recommend is to use a thread stand, or to use your vertical spool pin if you have one. I'm just going to go grab our thread stand really quickly right here. So this is our thread stand right here. It's called a thread tamer. And so we have 3 pins that belong on the back here for multiple different spools. And also the smaller ones can fit horizontally here. So what happens is, I'll show you, this compartment can come on and off, but you would essentially pull your thread up through here. And so like this is what other thread stands would do as well, but it kind of straightens out your thread and it'll give it a little bit of space to relax a little bit more before it goes into your machine. So you don't need to place your thread stands really far apart from your machine or anything like that. You just need to place it maybe like a small distance away so it has time to come up and go across and straighten out before it goes into your thread path. And the other thing is, it does help to give it a little bit of distance, but you don't need to go super, super crazy for that. Because I had a customer one time tell me that they're having so much trouble with metallic thread and they knew that they had to like try to straighten out the thread before it goes into your machine. And she actually drilled holes all around the ceiling of her sewing room so she could feed the thread all the way around the room before it went into her machine. Now you don't need to go that far to do that, and I'm going to save you some holes in your ceiling and some time and money, and you can just use a thread stand, something like this, and you can just put it offside to the side of your machine and it will do the same thing, and I think it'll look a lot nicer as well. So thread stands are super, super handy, and I do recommend using thread stands if you have one when you're sewing with metallic threads. It really does help just straighten out the thread before you put it into your machine. Now, another thing is metallic threads and a lot of embroidery threads a lot of the time are kind of slippery and they come off the spool very easily. So if we're using this, it might like unravel quite a little bit more than you want it to, because you can see like I have extra thread already. And so you really don't want that with trickier threads like metallic already. And so what you can do, I know some people asked about thread nets. Thread nets can be an option. I don't love thread nets because sometimes they kind of like end up pulling off the spool as you sew. I see some head nodding. So I think you guys might have had experience with that before. So what I would recommend actually is something like this. We call it WonderGuard here. And so this is like a thread wrap. So something like a thread wrap would work really great. So ours is called WonderGuard. And what you can do is when you're sewing, it actually keeps your spools really clean and from pooling when you're not using it. You can wrap it real tight so the thread doesn't come off or anything like that. But when you're sewing, you can actually adjust it so it's not too tight, but it forms a sleeve. So you see I can move it very easily up and down, but the thread is not going to pool at the bottom. And then the thread comes off very easily. So it's not going to cause any problems or any tension problems when you're sewing. So it comes off very easily like that. And it gives you just the right amount of thread. So it's really, really important that you try to control that aspect as well. Not too much thread coming off your spool with the metallic, because you did see when I had even just a little bit of extra, how it twisted to itself very easily. And so that's kind of things that you want to avoid when you're sewing with the metallic threads. Okay, so next part is needles. And boy, were there a lot of questions about needles. So first of all, needles are actually a huge factor for your success when sewing with metallic. So asking all these questions is definitely correct. And you guys are definitely on the right path and thinking the right things. It's really important when you're sewing with metallics that you're using a larger eyed needle, and that just gives the thread a little bit more space. It just somehow helps it sew a lot better. And so what we recommend is a top stitch needle or a metallic needle. Now I'll show you this sewing needle guide from Schmetz. And so you can actually see the holes of the needle, and you can see the different sizes. So you see a universal needle, the hole is a lot smaller, and same with an embroidery needle as well. But you see the metallic and the top stitch needle have a much larger eye in that needle, and that really helps the metallic thread a lot. And you can see why we can switch back and forth between recommending like a top stitch needle if you have one at home, or a metallic needle if you have one at home. They're even classified on the Schmetz page as like pretty much the same thing, and they both share that larger eye. And that's really what you're just looking for when you're sewing with the metallic thread. So the eye is right here. A lot of people loved this giant needle, so I'll just show it one more time. This is not the size of a top stitch needle eye. This is not a top stitch needle replica, but this is what I'm talking about, the needle eye. You want a larger needle eye here. Okay, I'll bring this back. A lot of people love it. So every once in a while I'll be like, hey guys, look at my giant needle. Okay, so when you're sewing on your domestic machine, a 90-14 top stitch or metallic needle should be what you're looking for. Now, if you're using larger threads, such as GlaMore, like the heavier metallic threads, then I would recommend using 116 and going up a size. And here's another thing, and I feel like a lot of you guys are probably guilty of this, but please remember to change your needles. It's actually very important to do. I see some nervous laughter from some people, so there's some guilty sewers here, but it's really important that you change your needle, especially if you want to just like have no problems with metallic. It's just good practice to do that. So after you're done sewing like a project, it's good to change your needle before you start the next project. Or if you've done about like 8 hours of sewing, change out that needle. Or if you're like, hey, my thread was working before and suddenly it starts giving you problems, it's usually because your needle is dull or it has a burr or something like that. So the first thing that you should think of when you're like experiencing a problem where it was working before and now it's not, is maybe to check your needle and to switch that out. And a lot of the times that does solve that problem. Okay, and now bobbins. Bobbins is another key player to the success of metallic threads. I had some people ask whether they can use metallics or they're supposed to use metallics in the bobbin, or like what size bobbin thread you're supposed to use. I'm going to say, unless you're really good at what you do and you've done this before, but if you're starting out or if you've had problems with metallic before, please do not put metallic thread in your bobbin. I think it's very difficult to have success with that. And I'm not sure what I can think of in terms of like instances where you would want to do that. So please don't put metallic threads in your bobbin. And in fact, what you want to do is put the lightest weight of thread in your bobbin. So we recommend using 80 weight. So what we have is our Deco Bob thread is what we use for all our metallic samples at the office. If you have 60 weight at home, I think you can use 60 weight as well, but I really wouldn't go anything heavier than that because metallic threads do work better when you're using a lighter weight bobbin. There's just less bulk in what you're doing, and especially a lot of the times metallic thread is being used in decorative stitching or embroidery, and there's a lot of stitches that are close together, so you really don't want to build up a lot of bulk in what you're doing and making that thread go through even more material when you're sewing. So you can use a lightweight thread like our 80 weight Deco Bob or something as close to that as you have. So you can definitely wind your own bobbins, but I always like to recommend pre-wound bobbins. And it's not that I'm lazy, it helps that I am, and these are really convenient to use, but they actually give you a lot better tension as well, because as you can see, I'm going to hold it up to the camera and then I'm going to get Maura to put up a photo as well. But you can see how flat this top layer is. And that's just to show you how evenly wound it is. There's no like imperfections or more thread on this side or more thread on that side. And it doesn't look like as lumpy as you would when you sew on your own or when you wind a bobbin on your own machine at home. I'm a little bit out of focus here. I'm going to try to bring it back. But Maura, if you could just show a photo of like a bobbin you wind at home and a bobbin that you pre-wound, you can look at the difference and you can see it right away that there's a little bit of unevenness. in the one that you wind at home, and it's a lot more even on the one that you have pre-wound at the factory. So I know there's like bobbin winders, and those do like a decently good job as well, but there's nothing that's going to come as close to this because it is wound on like much larger machines that are made for this to become a perfect bobbin. As well, when you have a bobbin, I'm talking a lot about like it being wound perfectly, and the reason why that's important is because you get better tension, you get more even tension. When the thread is put on there evenly, the thread is going to come off there evenly. And so that's what you can think about. If it's put on even, it comes off even. So the tension from your bobbin is going to come off a lot more evenly. And so that's going to give you better results with your stitching as well, especially if you're going to do free motion with metallic and you're already kind of like hopping around and moving the fabric and it's jumping all around. You don't want extra like any tension randomly here and there from your coming from your bobbin. So that's why we recommend these pre-wound bobbins. And so if you guys don't know what size your bobbin takes, we actually have a bobbin guide on our website. So Maura, if you could just show us the bobbin guide, and I can show you guys how you find your bobbin. The thing is, there's a lot of sewing machines out there, and we try our best to, if you could screen share that. Yeah, so there's a lot of bobbins out there, and we try to find every bobbin size that we possibly can, but because there's constantly new models coming out and everything like that, it does become a little bit difficult to have literally every bobbin under the sun. But don't worry, if you really don't see your bobbin, we'll show you how to find it as well. So on our website, in the footer, you can see there's a bobbin guide. So once you click that, oh, sorry, we clicked the YouTube button instead. So in the bobbin guide, yeah, you'll see that it's a PDF document. You can scroll through it and you can find where your machine, we can go to the table of contents, and then you can see we have like a bunch of machine brands, and then you can go to the page number your machine is on, and then you'll see there's a color beside the models. So if there's a legend in the corner, so you can see L is the red size, blue is the class 15, and yellow is the size M. And that's the same way our packages look as well. The pink one is going to be the L size, the blue one's going to be class 15, and the yellow one is going to be size M. Now, if you don't see your machine model on our website, don't worry. You can actually go to the third page of this PDF document, and you can see find your bobbin size. So what you can actually do is you can print this PDF out at 100% scale. And you'll see here on the bottom, we have 1 inch and 1 centimeter squares. So once you print it out, make sure you measure those squares so you know that you printed it in the correct sizing. And then you can just take your empty bobbin that you have at home and you can place it on top of those little circles that we have and see which bobbin yours fits. So remember to measure both the top of it. The L and the 15 size are going to be the same size top, but the M will be larger. I actually have an M size bobbin here as well. So you can see the M size bobbin is larger. And then the L size is a bit shorter than the 15, and the M size is also a little bit different in height to the 15 as well. So you can put it up against the side and measure the height of your bobbin. And that's how you can find your bobbin size if you don't have your machine listed on our bobbin guide as well. Okay, thank you, Maura. Now, another thing that I want to talk about is kind of going back to the Wonder Guard and the thread wrap a little bit. And the reason why I recommend it a little bit more than the thread net is because this is a wrap, whereas a thread net is not a wrap. The thread net is not going to like kind of cover the whole surface of your thread. So when you're storing your thread, people have talked about like the moisture of metallic thread or it drying out and things like that. Like where we are here in Calgary is a very, very dry climate. And so that does sometimes affect how well your threads are going to store and how well they're going to come back out after a year and you want to start working on Christmas projects again, and maybe they dried out a little bit. So The way metallic threads are made is there's that film on the thread, like what I talked before, and that is made of 100% polyester that has been anodized in either silver or aluminum, and that gives it its metallic look. And so it, because of that material, it can become a little staticky, and that does cause issues as well. So dryness and everything like that makes things more staticky, as those of you guys know that live in drier climates. And so you don't really want this sticking to extra places or kind of like being really staticky, because that can make it a little bit difficult to sew. Now you can mist your thread a little bit lightly before you sew if you live in a drier place with water. And like there's those metallic lubes as well that you can use as well. But you don't need it like wet. You should just give it like a light misting, and that will kind of like take out some of the static. Kind of like, you know, if your hair is really frizzy and then you go to the water, you go get some water and kind of like flatten out all those little frizzles or like that static from your hair. That would be doing the same thing to your metallic if you give it like a light mist, if you find that it feels like staticky or really dry. But the reason why I was going to mention the WonderGuard again is because of this film. It can like hold in or like kind of prevent it from drying out as much. Of course, if you live in a dry place, or depending on how long you haven't taken out the thread to sew, it can't like guarantee that it's not going to dry out. It all has like variables, but it does help kind of like slow that down or prevent it from drying out as quickly. So another reason to use WonderGuard is the storage. It stores really neatly. It protects it from drying out really quickly. And when you're sewing with it, it forms that sleeve like I did again, and it just pulls out the right amount of thread and makes it really easy. And not even just for metallic threads. Like I use WonderGuard a lot for just a lot of types of threads that I'm using, especially like embroidery threads or slipperier threads like rayons or even some polyesters and stuff like that. It's really great for those threads as well if you ever have issues sewing with them. Okay, the other thing I'm going to tell you is speed. Speed does matter a lot when you're sewing with metallic threads. I see a lot of people taking notes. That's right. Please remember that speed is really important, and you can't sew like how you're used to sewing with other threads when you're sewing with a metallic. It is a little bit more precious, and you need to slow your speed down, and it helps actually tremendously when you remember this tip. So for those of you, I know a lot of people actually asked about metallics on the long arm. I forgot if I mentioned, but the long arm needle should be a size 16 needle. And if you guys don't remember any of these tips that I'm giving out, we actually list all of our needle sizes and recommendations on all of the product pages. But as well, we have reference guides for each one of our thread lines that will list these things as well. That's all on our website. But yes, going back to speed, especially if you are going to go on a long arm machine, long arms are fun, right? Because you can just go and go really fast and like do your edge to edge quilts or just kind of like go crazy. But don't do that when you're sewing with metallic threads. You can absolutely sew with metallic threads on the long arm machine. That's not a problem. And I actually have samples to show you guys later on the metallic threads on the long arm machine, but it's really, really key to slow your speed down by probably 50% of like what you're used to doing. You can always like play with it a little once you have a bit more of a grasp of like, okay, if it's working, maybe I can like test the limits a little bit and like go a little bit faster, but you'll know what's best. But really just initially slow your speed down to start with, okay? And for those of you guys that actually do long arming for customers and stuff like that, just know if you're putting metallic thread on that quilt, you're not going to finish it as fast as like your regular like edge to edge quilting. You're gonna have to factor that in, that sewing with metallic threads on your long arm is going to take longer if you're going to sew for customers. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about doing that. Okay. And then the next thing I got a lot of questions is with, I just read a comment that's really funny that said I'm good at making sound effects. So I laughed a little bit there. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is tension. And I know that there was a lot of questions about tension as well. And usually every thread talk we have, there's actually a lot of questions about like, what tension setting should I have when I'm using this thicker thread or this finer thread? And if you go back and watch any of those older thread talks, I never give out an exact number. And that's because every machine is different. Every brand is different. Every brand, even if you have the same brand and like a different model, it's probably different too. So I can't just sit here and be like, put it on 3 or put it on 2, you know, and I don't know what kind of thread you had on before you were sewing with metallic. And so I can't just be like, it has to be tighter or it has to be looser than what you had before, because it all depends on what you were doing before or what your machine is like. So it's really good. And it's really good practice, like changing your needles, I'm going to repeat that again, to always test out on what you're going to sew on before you sew on your real project. So then you don't have to do any picking and stuff like that. And when I mean testing, I don't mean grabbing a scrap of fabric that's like a single layer of cotton and just sewing on top of it. No, because that is not the same thing as what your project probably is. So try to have like a scrap piece of like the same thing you're going to sew on. So if you're going to sew on a quilt sandwich, test your metallic on a quilt sandwich. Don't just test it on that single piece of scrap fabric, because you're not going to get the same results and you're not tensioning it to the same amount of material that you're going to have to go through. So kind of try to keep that in mind. And so what to look out for when you're doing tension on your machine is if you're finding that your thread is pulling to the bottom, to your bobbin side, it probably means that your tension is a bit too loose, and that's why it's pulling underneath. And if you are sewing and you're finding that the bobbin thread is going to the top, it probably means that your top tension is too high. So that's why it's pulling that bobbin thread up. So just play with it a little bit, get used to it. And then once you get a handle on like experimenting with your tension a little bit, you actually won't be afraid to sew with any type of thread, because I find that's almost one of the #1 barriers people have when they're trying to sew with a new thread, is being afraid to touch your tension. So don't be afraid of that. Okay. I think I've gone over most of the things I want to talk about in terms of like the hints and tips for metallic thread. And so now I'm going to talk about applications, because this is really the fun part. You just had to sit through the lecture side of things, and now we get to see kind of more like the fun stuff that you can do with metallic thread. So I have a lot of great samples to show you, and I'm going to start off with embroidery. Metallic looks so great for machine embroidery. And I did get people asking questions about like if there's like certain things that you have to avoid, or certain types of stitches that you have to avoid. And the answer would be no. If you are remembering to use the right needle sizes, like use a good bobbin thread and place the metallic thread where it wants to be, and not so fast, especially with machine embroidery, you're going to have to remember to slow your speed down for that as well. So make sure you like adjust, program that into your machine when you're doing machine embroidery with metallics, to have your machine stitch it out a bit more slowly than usual, which is fine for Christmas anyways. You can like let that slowly go in the background and make yourself some hot chocolate and do some other decorating around the house. So don't be a speed demon with metallics, and slow it down. And you can do really nice embroideries like this. And especially for the Christmas time, you can do freestanding lace, and they make actually fantastic ornaments. Look at this little snowman. It's very, very cute. And this angel as well. These are all kinds of designs that you guys can make for your Christmas tree. They make really great ornaments, and it's the best time to use metallic thread actually. Do you need to watch for the density of the design? So I would say yes, to an extent. Like you can do things that like fill a project or fill a space a lot, but the thing is you do want to just slow it down. I think the biggest thing is like you're slowing it down and you're not going too fast and you're using a lighter weight bobbin, and that's especially important because if you're doing a design that's really dense, you're going to have so much more thread piled on top of each other, and that's exactly where that deco bob or that lighter weight bobbin thread is really going to lend a helping hand because it's going to reduce that bulk when you're doing those denser designs for metallic. And using our rayon core metallic, like I said, it's really soft and supple. If you're doing dense designs, it's going to feel a lot softer too. So using a really nice metallic thread when you're doing that is important so you don't get like a really scratchy surface when you're done sewing all that metallic on top of it. So even these ones are filled really, really nicely, and they have like satin stitches, or even like the face. Like this is full of metallic thread, but we don't have any issues with that. And so that's just all using deco bob on the bottom, metallic thread on the top, using that top stitch or metallic needle as well. So Maura is going to zoom in on some of these samples I'm going to show you. So I'm going to get her to screen share and just to see some more inspiration. A lot of the times, like I said, metallic is just being used decoratively. So I don't have like too much to speak on for that, but I just kind of want to show you guys different ideas or things that you can do. Of course, the world is your oyster. You guys can choose whatever design you want, but this one is actually used with this hologram thread that we did earlier. So it actually gives a different type of sparkle than the straight metallic thread. So you see the metallic thread that we have, if you go to the next image, Maura, it feels like more full and it feels a little bit more saturated. It's also, it sparkles a little bit different. It looks like shiny, whereas if you do it with the hologram, I know the photograph doesn't show it as well, but you'll see like the pockets where it looks a little bit whiter because it looks a little bit more like shiny, shimmery, sparkly type of thing. So it just depends on what kind of look you want your metallic thread to have. We're gonna show you guys another sample that I really love. It's the next one, I believe, Maura, is the feathers. I love this one. The feathers is really pretty. And you can see you can actually add so much like texture to your quilt by changing the different colors of the metallic thread in the same embroidery as well. So just because, let me show you like the difference it can make. Like for example, these metallic ornaments are all using the same color, right? This is all silver, but just look at if you change one color and add a little bit of green. Look at that. That really adds so much and it makes it look like little gemstones in your snowflake. Maybe we can stop screen sharing for a sec so the image looks a little bit larger, Maura. But you can really see how nice that looks with a different type of metallic in the middle as well. Oh, and I actually have a comparison between our Spotlight, which is this type of metallic, and our hologram. So if you go to the comparison photo, Maura, you can share that with everyone and they can see, one second here. You can see that the main snowflake is using the regular metallic thread, the Spotlight. And the center of that snowflake, where the star is using the hologram. So you can see that it does sparkle a little differently. And actually this quilt is quilted with the hologram in the background. So you can see it's like really sparkly all around the background, and that's using the hologram as well. So, and all the snowflakes are just straight up using the regular metallic thread. So you can really see the difference between the way that these two metallic threads shine. Okay, thank you. And then we'll go back to our slideshow of samples. And then we'll do a little closer zoom on one of the feathers as well. So we only have one variegated metallic thread available at this moment, but it's this one that I'm holding in my hand right here. It is 7731 in the metallic. And you can see here, it looks really pretty when you use it in embroidery and all those like different shades. It really makes the feather look very special. But even if you just only have like single colors of metallic, look, mixing the different colors around in the same embroidery make it look really unique and cool as well. So these are just kind of close-ups of the feathers and the snowflakes. So you can probably scroll down and show all those different ones. So again, it's all about choosing kind of like the aesthetic that you want in your project. And there's no right or wrong. Like no one says that you even have to use metallic in versus project, but it does feel like it suits the season quite well. So it's really up to you what you'd like to see. If you could stop screen sharing for a moment and I can show them a different sample I have here, is I showed the wolf earlier, but look at the same design using a variegated rayon thread. And then the same design again, just using a 40 weight polyester thread. So I mean, these all look really nice and pretty in their own way. And there's no like one that is better than the other. It's all about choosing the one that you think will give you the results that you're looking for. So don't be afraid to try different things. Like even look, the same design feels so different across these 3 different thread types. I'm just trying to help you guys get creative and not be like feel like there's only one way to do one thing, because there's really not. There's like so much to play with thread, and it can really make all the difference when you're doing your projects. So another thing that you can do is thread painting. You can do so much fun stuff with thread painting or doing free motion with metallic. Yes, you can absolutely do thread painting and free motion with metallic thread. Again, using all the tips I mentioned earlier makes doing things like free motion and thread painting a lot easier, because when you're just doing like either machine program stitching or your embroidery or straight stitching, you're having your feed dogs up, you're having your presser foot down, like your machine is guiding so much of what's happening and there's a lot more control. Whereas with free motion, where your feed dogs are down and you are the one kind of driving it, it is important to kind of like follow the steps I mentioned earlier, because there are a lot more things that are variables then, because it'll depend how you pull on it suddenly or where you want it to turn or how much you're layering on top of each other. And so you can do free motion. This is free motion done on the sewing machine. And we just kind of like did a fill here in the background of this breast cancer awareness logo. And then if you're really adventurous or want to try something new, I think I have a close-up photo of this under free motion, Mora. I don't think you can see it very well, but what we actually did when we sewed this lizard is we put a metallic and a rayon thread through the eye of the needle at the exact same time. So not only are you guys thinking, wait, metallic's already hard enough, you put 2 threads through the needle at the same time. The answer is yes, we did do that. And so Maura's going to show you a closer up photo of that. And so when you're doing things like that, it is extra important that you have something like our thread stand here, because like I mentioned earlier, there's actually 3 pins that stand up on the back of this. And so then you can place your metallic thread and your other spool of like your variegated rayon thread at the same time, and you can feed it through the loop here, and then it just like all guides into the machine really well and easily. So if you're going to do more complex stuff, it is important that you have tools like this in your sewing room. So as you can see here, the lizard, you can see like a little bit of shine, but there is both a rayon thread and a metallic thread on there at the same time. If you could go to the next photo, Maura, maybe you can see it a little bit better at that close-up angle. So it's cool. You can do like really interesting things like this. You can see we even had both threads on at the same time when we did our decorative stitching around the edge. And I know you guys asked if there's certain types of decorative stitches that you should avoid or not. The decorative stitches that have a lot like kind of bunched up on them, like this little star asterisk one, is a little bit more difficult. But as you can see, we can still do that, and we can even increase the difficulty and it still works. But you just have to follow those tips that I mentioned earlier to get good results. Otherwise, you can try to do more simple stuff that have less threads building up on top of each other if you're worried about that. Okay. Let's go on to some, I'm just gonna show, since I'm talking about decorative stitching, you can see here, there's different types of decorative stitches. So this is a little bit like what I'm talking about, that's more open because the threads aren't really overlapping on top of each other. Whereas this one is more of kind of like that star pattern that we saw earlier that has a lot more thread built up on top of each other. And you can see that both of them stitched out perfectly fine. It's just about using those tips. So you don't have to avoid any type of decorative stitching on your machine. You can choose any one that you want to use. Just make sure you're doing all the other steps beforehand correctly, and you can do anything you want. You can see here, this is like just black fabric, but we just filled it entirely with metallic threads and decorative stitching. And you can see you can do some really fun stuff like that. Or if you're doing couching, adding a bit of metallic over top of that other thread creates almost like your own type of thread. So you can play around and make your projects look unique. Okay, yes, I will hold up some of the samples again, just because I don't think they were focused, and then I moved them too quickly. So this is couching. You can see we're using metallic thread on top. So this is a brown thread, but we use gold metallic on top. So from a distance, it's kind of like brown and gold, and you can create your own type of thread look by doing that. You can choose your base thread for your couching, and then you can choose another color on top. You can really play around and achieve different results by doing things like that. And then this one has a little bit of couching as well, but it has a lot of metallic decorative stitching on there. So you can see we used all sorts of different types of stitches. So you don't need to avoid any type of stitches that you have on your machine. You can use any one of them probably for your metallic thread. You just have to make sure you are doing all the other things correctly if it's going to be one that looks like it's going to be more difficult, especially. You can see these. We have all sorts of stitches on here. We have free motion as well. And then here is another sample. This is thread painting with metallic free motion quilting on the background. So you can see it's perfect for the holiday. It's a little reindeer. So all we did here was we actually just traced out a stencil of this reindeer guy, and then we filled it in with some cotton threads. But then for the ornaments, we actually used metallic threads and did thread painting on those ones. So you can see here, that's all thread painting, free motion thread painting on the ornaments here. So what threads do you use the most for thread painting was a question that we just got. Sorry, my throat's a little dry. I'm just gonna take a sip of water. So you can use a lot of different types of thread for thread painting. It really depends, again, on the results that you want to see. Do you want your thread painting to look matte? If you do, then you can use threads like cotton to do your thread painting. But if you want to have your thread painting to have a little bit of sheen, then you would use your rayon, and you could use your polyester to do that. Most thread painting commonly is done with like 40 weight thread, same as what's commonly used for embroidery, but you don't need to always use 40 weight to do your embroidery or to do your thread painting. Using heavier texture or heavier thread weights will give you a lot of texture and dimension as well. So I know you guys can't see it, but it almost looks like this guy pops out a bit, and we're actually using our 12 weight here to fill this and to do our thread painting and to do the decorative stitches on the reindeer here. So you can really use anything you want to do your thread painting, and even the eyes actually are done with a 12 weight. I will try to get it to focus. Maybe here, yeah. This is all done with the 12 weight. So you can do thread painting with almost every type of thread. And even with the 12 weight metallic thread that we talked about earlier, you can do thread painting with. So I'll show you a little bit of that as well. I have a sample here. And so this is actually just a panel. We didn't do anything else to it, but we did do thread painting all over this. And luckily we have photos because it's quite difficult to show you the whole thing on camera, but I'll first hold it up. It's a panel like this, and you can see there's so much design on it. So what we did is we actually thread painted with a 12 weight metallic, that glamour I was talking about, all over. And you can see it adds so much texture and color as well to this panel. And that's all, this is all done with a 12 weight metallic with thread painting. So Maura has some close-up photos, so she's gonna share that on the screen really quickly right now. So this is the full-size thing I was just holding up, and you can see it's really texturous, and all these parts, all the flowers and stuff like that, you can see that have like so much thread on there. That is actually all done with our GlaMore thread right here. So I know the photo and the video don't do it justice, but like in person, it really makes it so unique, and it adds something really special. And it's really just decorating a panel. It's like almost coloring in a coloring book or something like that. So it's really fun to do projects like this. Okay. And for anything that I mentioned with the finer weight metallic thread, like the Spotlight here, a lot of it you can do with the heavier weight 12 weight, the heavier weight as well, the 12 weight GlaMore. So embroideries you can do. Now the density will matter a little bit more if you're using 12 weight to do embroidery. I would try to do designs that are a little bit more open, because the thread is a lot heavier than the 40 weight. And even if you are using a lighter weight bobbin thread, it is a lot thicker to go through. So it is kind of easier if you do choose a little bit more of an open design when you're doing the 12 weight for machine embroidery. And you can also use 12 weight. Oh, look, this is perfect for this week. It says trick or treat. And you can have like a nice little Halloween themed little banner. And you see it's nice to do embroidery sometimes when you want it to pop with that 12 weight, because you don't have to go over it as many times. You can just do it once or twice and it really like shows up well, compared to like if you try to do the same effect with the 40 weight. And now quilting. So with the reindeer, I was trying to show you guys that this is all the blue back here, because this is actually just a piece of black fabric. All of this blue is actually done on the machine, and it's free motion quilting. But I also have samples that we did on the long arm as well. So this quilt here, all of the colors on, I almost fell backwards. All of the colors on here are actually metallics, and it was all done on the long arm. I'll try to hold it up a little bit better. So this is that variegated color that I was showing you guys earlier, that's now on the long arm. So you can absolutely use this on the long arm machine. Again, test it on your quilt sandwich before you start quilting, but there is no issues whatsoever doing whatever kind of free motion pattern. Here's some feathers using the metallic thread. Okay, and this one is also done on the long arm machine. It feels a little bit festive. It's using gold. I'm gonna see if I can get it to focus. The lights kind of wash out the white a bit, but you can see here. Oh, there we go. You can see here all this quilting. All of this is all metallic thread. So the answer is absolute yes. You can use it for quilting. Okay, if you're thread painting on a lighter weight fabric, do you recommend using stabilizer? Yes, we do recommend using stabilizer. You can use like a tearaway or something like that. But usually when I'm doing thread painting, because you're doing free motion and stuff like that as well, if you just do that on a single layer of fabric, it's pretty likely you might get like puckering and things like that happening. So it does help a lot having a good stabilizer in the back. Okay, and now what is the next thing I want to talk about? Oh yes, the next thing I wanted to talk about was serger. So there were questions about whether or not you could use metallic on the serger as well. The answer again is yes, you can use metallic in the serger. So you can use metallic in the loopers. So I'm talking this one. Someone was asking if you can use this thread in the serger. You can use it in the serger. You can use it in the loopers, but a lot of the times you're doing those kinds of decorative edging on your whatever project you have it on, so it can show and so it like fills nicely. The thing is, when you look at this thread, it's not going to fill on the serger super full, so it might not give you the results you're looking for. So this is actually metallic, this exact metallic thread. Oh, I'm gonna try to get it to focus because we don't have a photo of this. Okay, there we go. So you can see it doesn't have a problem stitching on your serger, but it's not going to give you like a really full or rich look. So what we recommend instead is to use that heavier weight thread that we were talking about earlier, something like the GlaMore 12 weight, or now you can use this in your serger, the 8 weight Dazzle. So these both are, of course, they don't look exactly like this metallic thread, but this type of metallic is also really nice. It's sparkly still, and it's still going to give you a sheen. And look how much nicer that fills in. I'm going to get it to focus. There we go. It fills in so much fuller. I'm going to try to hold this up beside it, and you can really you can really see the difference there. So if you're looking for a decorative edge and you're comparing this to this does fill a lot fuller. And so that's why when we're recommending like serging with metallics, we usually like to recommend the Dazzle and the GlaMore first because they fill a lot nicer. And then this one's also done on the serger. This is using GlaMore as well. And you can see how nice those stitches look. Okay. I think that about covers it in terms of the different applications for metallic thread. So I'm just gonna kind of like reiterate a little bit what we talked about is you can use it for embroidery, you can use it for freestanding lace, decorative quilting, you can use it for thread painting, decorative stitching, you can use it in the serger and in the long arm as well. But the number one thing, again, slow down your speed. I did get some questions about whether or not you could use the metallic threads for quilting by hand or sewing by hand. And the answer is yes, you can use this by hand. It is finer. So usually if you're doing like a running stitch, or if you're trying to do something that can be seen with it, it won't show as well. So that's why we recommend, again, the heavier threads for hand applications. Both the GlaMore and the Dazzle work really, really well for that. If you are certain that you want to use the metallic for sewing by hand, usually the rule of thumb is that your strand of thread isn't longer than your forearm. But with metallic, you almost want that even a little bit shorter, because you did see how easily it wants to twist up on itself like all the time. And a lot of time, what people don't realize when they're doing hand sewing is they always ask me why their thread is twisting. So that's not even related to metallic. Even when you're using like a cotton or something like that, people have asked me like, why is my thread twisting? And it's because a lot of times when you're going in, a lot of people are actually introducing a little bit of twist into their thread, and they actually don't realize, and it ends up becoming really like twisted in the back, something that kind of looks like this. And if metallic threads are already really prone to this happening, it will be a little bit more difficult doing that with metallic. So just try to keep that in mind. Try to keep it real short if you are doing it, and just watch out for that. Okay, so I do have a Q&A portion that I'm going to come to in a little bit. But I kind of want to talk about our newsletter. And so I know a lot of you guys came to our thread talk today because you signed up for our newsletter. If you aren't already, or even if you are, you can go to our homepage of our website, shopwonderfil.com. And on the promos page right now, if you just put in your email again, if you are already on our newsletter list, it's not going to add a second email. It's just going to like update your current email, so it won't really do anything. But if you aren't, you can go there too and sign up. So Maura, are you screen sharing that page? Perfect. You can redeem a free deco bob and confetti cup on your next purchase. So all you have to do is make sure you're on our newsletter list, and this is how you do it. Because once you sign up and put your name and email, then you'll get a secret code on the next page, and it'll tell you what the coupon code is to use when you're checking out. And so I did talk about a little bit of our Christmas stuff that's happening in the office. We have some really exciting Christmas packs. I don't know if you guys have seen on our social media or on our newsletter, but we actually have a lot of really cute and fun Christmas packs this year. And it's called the WonderFil Christmas Village because we designed the packs to look like little stores. And these are threads dressed up as nutcrackers. And so the packages are super, super cute. And then this one, we did one for GlaMore as well. So there's a pack for Dazzle. There's a pack for GlaMore. There's a pack for Eleganza. And you can see our threads are dressed up as like a snowman. And we also have, this is something very new, but I'll open one on camera as well, is our mystery blind box. So you can see there's actually no windows on this package here because there's going to be some surprise threads inside each pack. There's going to be random colors, but they're usually all Christmas themed. And so you won't know what you're getting till you're opening it up. So if you have some like friends that you sew with or something like that, it makes for a really fun stocking stuffer and gift. So I'll open one up and show you guys something maybe you'll be able to get inside. You might be able to get a spool of GlaMore and a metallic, and then they all come with a spool of Deco Bob as well, and actually 2 spools of Deco Bob. And you'll find this little sticker inside because what is this? This is a QR code that you just scan with your phone, and all of these packs come with free projects. So the free project that comes with the blind box actually is on my little Christmas tree. Oh my God, right here, ta-da! So you can see here the blind box, when you get it, actually hangs on your Christmas tree as well. So it's really, really cute. And I don't know if you could see it earlier, but it's actually little threads that are riding around a carousel. And there's threads, there's a sewing machine with a bow on it. So hopefully you guys have one of those under your Christmas tree this year. And here's the rest of the carousel, but it's going to come with free patterns. So you can use those skills that I just taught you to make like a metallic ornament that comes like this. So this is one of the free patterns that comes inside. It's a freestanding lace design as well. This blind box actually comes with 2 designs, and the other one here is a candle holder. And so actually all of this is metallic in the background, and then we used a rayon called Mirage that is also one of the threads that you might be able to get in that blind box on top of this as well. So we sewed a base of metallic and then another thread on top, so you can really see how well our metallics sew. And this is another project you can get. So this is a candle holder. Okay, so for the other Christmas packs, we actually have other patterns as well that all come free with each of these Christmas packs. So Maura, if you could please show some of the fun projects that people can get when Christmas pack photos, perfect. So in the Dazzle pack, we'll show you here. This is the free project that you're going to get. So there's 2 colorways. One is called Holiday Wreath and one's called Winter Magic. And we have a free design for that little elf stocking, and you'll be able to use these on the serger. Like I mentioned earlier, you can use these on the serger. So there's a lot of ways to use the dazzle on the serger, and there's a little bit of hand embroidery with these as well on the little cheeks. So it's like a fun and simple pattern, something that even like kids could do, but it just makes for a little fun Christmas project if you're into that. All of these photos are actually on the product pages of these packs as well. And then I'm going to show you GlaMore. So we did something really exciting for GlaMore this year. This was that 12 weight that I'm talking about. And I don't know if you can read it, but you can see on the shop window of this part of the box, it says limited edition. So actually this year we did limited edition colors in GlaMore, and we did 4 different colors in the metallic. So these are brand new and only available in these packs or boxes. This one is a green and gold thread, and it is called Christmas Tree. This is a red and silver metallic thread. That's really cool, called Candy Cane. So you can see it here. There's also better photos on our website. I'm going to try to get it to focus on the thread. Focus. All right. And then in the other pack will be these 2 threads. So one is called Snowflake. So this one's actually super unique. I need to find a background so it can show up on this a little bit better. You can see here, it's actually blue and kind of like an iridescent purple color. And it's very pretty. And then this one is actually one of my personal favorites. It's called Winter Wonderland. And that's because the thread is whitish silver. Oh, I don't know if you can see, it's called Snowflake, and it actually has a blue metallic on it. So it looks like a little bit of a tinge of blue, and it's perfect for sewing on like snowy themed landscapes or anything that you want to make look very snowy. And the free patterns that come with these 2 packs is going to be a little mug coaster type thing. So I'm going to show you a screen share of that one. So you can see here, oh, it's a cute little reindeer. And so you'll be able to make this little pattern. It'll come with this GlaMore box. So these ones come with the limited edition colors. These 2 will be in one box, the red and green, and then these 2 more snowy colors will come in the other one. But it'll come with the pattern, so you can make this cute little reindeer mug coaster. And then finally, we have 3 colorways for the Eleganza pack. And so these are cotton threads. They're 8 weight and they're pearl cotton. And so one's called Frosted Landscape. Oh, one's called Frosted Landscape, which is this one. So you can see it's very wintry. It's got some browns and greens in it. And then this one here, I believe, is Modern Christmas. So they're more poppy Christmas colors. And then here we have Deck the Halls, which look like a little bit more traditional Christmas colors. So we are going to show you the free patterns that come with these ones. So I love these ones because we have little ornaments that you can make with this pack. So Maura will just show you here. I'm just going to pull that up really quick and screen share. All right, Maura, if you could please screen share. The first one we have is a little nutcracker guy. He's super cute. We also have a little sleigh, and then we have kind of like almost like a 3D Christmas tree. So you can see all 3 of the patterns here. So each one of these will have all 3 patterns inside. And then for the blind box, it'll come with 2 free patterns, which was the ornament and the candle holder. So check those out on our website right now. They're actually on sale as well, so you can get like a nice little savings from buying those. And now some exclusive offers for you guys, because we talked so much about metallic. We are going to do some crazy good deals. First of all, the thread tamer, the thread stand that I was talking about here, that looks like this, comes with like a horizontal spool pin, so threads like the hologram will fit right on this horizontal spool pin here. And so the thread will be drawn vertically. Again, that will help take out that curl or that memory from the thread, and then you can feed it through that loop as well into your machine. And then the 3 spool pins on the back for your metallic threads or any type of threads. So the thread stand we're gonna put on sale actually for 15% off for the next 2 weeks. And then if you buy 5 spools of either GlaMore or Spotlite, doesn't matter what the mix is, we're going to give you 1 spool for free. So buy 5 and get the 6th one free. And then also we have something that's really good as well. So if you don't buy all 5 spools, it doesn't matter, don't worry, because for every spool of Splendor or of Spotlite or GlaMore that you buy, it's going to come with a free Wonder Guard. I know there are so many questions about Wonder Guards. Yes, you can buy them in packs of 10 on our website like this, but right now, only for 1 week, if you guys buy any spool, individual spool of Spotlite or GlaMore, it's going to come with a free Wonder Guard for you guys. So you guys can check that out. It's already set up on our website. So don't miss out on all of that. Okay, now I'm going to get into the final portion, the Q&A. I hope I answered up to this point most of the questions that came in, but if you guys have questions that you still want to ask on the side, you can go ahead and do that. But I'm going to kind of talk a little bit more specifically about some questions that I received that I wasn't able to answer earlier in my talk. And one of the first questions was using metallics with a baby lock sashiko machine on quilt sandwiches. So actually using metallics for sashiko gives a really cool effect, but using metallic specifically on the baby lock sashiko is not something that we recommend. Just the way it sews out, it is going to be a little bit difficult. Sashiko is all about having that bold stitch, and using just the 40 weight and doing a double stitch of that is not probably going to give you the look that you want anyways. And if you go up to the 12 weight GlaMore, I don't believe that machine is going to sew with it well. So you can do sashiko, but do it by hand. I have a sample here. This is actually done with dazzle. So you don't always have to use traditional sashiko floss, because the dazzle is an 8 weight. It's still going to give you a really full effect. It's not going to show up super well, but there's actually some sparkle on these threads, so it still gives you the same look as sashiko, but it'll give you kind of like a little bit of more of an interesting touch or finish to your project. Okay, the next question is, does the thread require a spool net? I think I answered this earlier, but I thought it came up quite often, so I just kind of wanted to conclude with, yes, you can use a thread net. I do recommend using Wonder Guard more or a thread wrap more, because again, it will prevent your thread from drying out as fast. You can sew with it while you can sew with the Wonder Guard on, and it won't pull up as long as you just have it a little bit loose and it forms a nice sleeve. It'll prevent that spooling, but it won't like ride up as you're sewing with it. And then also, again, it will prevent pooling and all of that stuff. So Wonder Guard is what I like to recommend. If you really only have a thread net, then yes, but I think thread wraps are a little bit better than the thread nets. And then I also got a question about washing the metallic thread, if there's anything specific about washing the metallic. So yes, you can wash metallic thread. It's not an issue to wash your metallics. There's actually nothing about like washing it or getting it wet that will really affect it. Metallic threads are actually a little bit more sensitive to abrasion. So like things kind of rubbing on the surface of it. So if you are worried or you want to protect your threads or how your design looks on whatever you're washing a little bit better, if you can flip it inside out, maybe flip it inside out. If you have those laundry bags, like those net mesh ones, then you can put it inside there as well. And but otherwise, yes, you can absolutely go ahead with washing. And there were questions about ironing as well. You can iron, but I would recommend not ironing on your hottest setting. Something that's closer to about like 300 degrees Fahrenheit is probably what I would recommend a little bit more. And can you use steam? Can you not use steam? Yes, you can use steam. Again, that won't really affect it too much. So yes, you can wash. You can also dry, but when you're drying it in your machine, don't go to 100% dryness. Maybe use like a more gentle cycle, like for your delicates, and like so it dries it almost all the way, and then maybe just like hang dry it the rest of the way, but don't like use the hottest setting and don't dry it out completely. And I think that will be the best way to treat metallics in the washing cycle. Can you use razzle or dazzle in the long arm? So razzle is similar to the dazzle. The only difference is that it has no metallic, but it's the same weight of thread. So like I mentioned earlier, the 8-weight threads do not go through the eye of your needle. The largest thread your needles take is going to be up to a size 12. So 12 weight thread. So the dazzle and the razzle cannot be used on the long arm through your needle. You would have to do couching if you want to use it on your long arm. Okay. And then there's also another question about whether or not another ironing question about whether it would melt or affect the shine of the thread. The metallic won't melt under an iron if you use it around it. Well, it won't melt, but we also just recommend not using like the highest heat setting. We're not worried about it melting, but it's just like better treatment for your thread if you're not using it on the highest heat setting. And whether or not it will affect shine is, I don't believe it'll affect shine, but like I mentioned before, metallic threads are just more sensitive to like abrasion. So if you don't have like a great iron, or like you had like something sticky on it before, maybe don't use that for your iron, or put like a piece of cotton or something like that over top before you iron those parts. But otherwise it's totally fine. And then I got another question about how to use metallics best in hand embroidery. Like again, I mentioned I don't recommend this specifically for hand embroidery, but for sure, the razzle and the dazzle are fantastic for hand embroidery. And actually, in fact, the dazzle comes in a lot of like much smaller sizes that we collaborated with both Sue Spargo and Kim Ratto from Starry Night Dazzle. They both have collections with us because they specifically use dazzle a lot of the times for hand embroidery, because it's an 8-weight. It's the same weight as an 8-weight number 8 pearl cotton, but it's going to give you a totally different look. Whereas the cottons are going to give you more of that matte finish. The dazzle is going to like shine and sparkle and give you a little bit of that something something. And then do you have a conversion to other metallics used in OESD designs? We currently don't have conversion charts right now. I don't know if and when that is coming. We'll let you guys know always through a newsletter if that happens. Of course, we always have real thread color charts on our website. So if you want to use a real thread color chart, you can always order that on the website, or we have color charts online as well that you can find on our resources section. And we try to do our very best to like have those colors be as accurate as you can. Of course, that always changes depending on like the type of monitor or screen you're looking at, but we try to make those as accurate as possible. And if you're happy to use that, that is perfectly fine as well. And then the last question is, does it glow in the dark? No, metallic threads don't glow in the dark. I'm sure if you shine a flashlight on it, it'll sparkle in the dark though. But we do have a special glow in the dark thread just for that, and it is called Aurora. So if you're looking for a glow in the dark thread, Aurora is the one you are looking for. Okay. Maura, were there any more questions that I need to answer? Or do you think I got everything in the comments, or you got them?
They were just helping them with some.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I see some questions more related to the newsletter. Maura is trying to answer them as best as she can. But if we finish here and we don't have all the answers yet, we do have a live chat on our website. So you can always go there, and we're usually answering from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. If you catch us on odd hours, don't worry, we're gonna email you, or we're gonna message you back on there when we come back into the office. But you can always ask us there, whether it's thread advice or anything like that. You can always catch us on there as well. Okay, now for the giveaway. This is the final thing now. It's the giveaway portion. I will take this off the Christmas tree because today one lucky person is going to get our fun little blind box here. So Maura, if you could please tell me who the lucky winner is. Drum roll. Are you gonna type it to me? All right, Maura's gonna send it to my phone. So we're gonna see whose lucky name comes up. And we're trying to actually do more fun giveaways while we're leading up to Christmas. So make sure you're checking out our social media, you're checking out our newsletter, because we're gonna be announcing all of that good stuff on there. Okay, the winner of the mystery blind box is a Alice Springer. Springer. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Oh, she's waving at me. Hi. Okay. Congratulations. We do have your email, so we will be emailing you there to grab any information for shipping address and anything like that. If you don't hear from us, you can always message us as well. We have your name, so we know who you are. So we'll be reaching out shortly. And I just want to thank everyone here for, I kind of ran a little bit over. It's been an hour and a half, but there's just so much to cover about metallic threads. I hope after this you feel less intimidated to try metallics, to sew with metallics. And now as the holidays, get into this holiday spirit, try putting some metallics on some fun projects. I think you're gonna have a good time. You don't have to worry or like hear those horror stories, and then the next time your friend says I can't sew with metallics, you're gonna be like, oh wait, let me tell you all my hints and tips, and you can be the expert on metallics for them. So again, we've recorded this whole session, so I know I blabbed on a lot, and I don't know if you caught everything I did talk about, but we will be putting this on our YouTube page as well. And if you have missed any of our previous thread talks, you can definitely go there and access them at any time, learn about our other thread lines or other topics that we talked about. We're going to do another one in November. So again, look out in your newsletters, because that's where we're going to be reaching out to you guys. And as always, thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy that fall weather. I'm in the fall mood, so I wore a turtleneck today. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for joining us for a WonderFil Thread Talk. Bye, everyone.